Everyone. Welcome to Mountain Lake Files. I'm really sorry that we haven't made a video in a while. My husband came home feeling ill last Thursday after being at work for about an hour. And he tested positive on Friday. And my youngest daughter fell ill as well. And then about 5 days after them, I had a night of chills and no fever, followed by night sweats into the morning. Woke up the next day feeling like I had a headache and felt really loopy, like groggy. And my sense of taste is off. I haven't lost it, but it's just off. So some things taste normal, some things don't. Colby Jack cheese tastes like mozzarella. My coffee tastes like something like sweet hot water. Lettuce tastes very bitter. So, we're okay though. Tonight's story, you may have heard of it. It's a Cherokee story. And some say she's long gone. Others say she still lurks the forest. But the Cherokee have kept the legend of Spearfinger alive. She was an ancient evil witch who used her supernatural powers to cause harm. No one knows how she did it, but she had a strange power over stones. She would clash them together and make them bigger, and she had the ability to make them those heavy rocks that normal men couldn't push or move, but she was able to move them. Legend tells that Spearfinger had a special and unusual relationship to stones. Her body was covered by a hard skin of rock, making it impenetrable, and warriors could do little harm to the witch. Her greatest enemy was the Stone Man. Both she and the Stone Man chased after the same food, livers. But he had stronger powers and could take advantage of his magical staff to create bridges to other mountains. Spearfinger was a shapeshifter, and as such, she could transform herself from an ugly old woman into a beautiful young female. Her deadliest weapon was her sharp finger that resembled a spear or an awl. She used to cut her victims. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that sounds an awful lot like the Raven Mocker. Remember, the victims of the Raven Mocker would get like a cut on their head. It's just kind of odd, something I picked up there. So the Cherokee called her Ulonta, which means the one with pointed spear. Being a master of deception, she always hid her deadly finger and used it as an element of surprise. She was evil and showed her victims no mercy. Those who had the misfortune of encountering her lost their lives. But killing people was not enough. Spearfinger wanted more, and so she ate her victims, who were both adults and children. Legends of the Cherokee tell the Spearfinger outlived generation upon generation of man hiding somewhere along the eastern side of Tennessee and western parts of North Carolina. In western North Carolina, the Nantahala River and Patton's Run have surprisingly deep roots in myth and in history. The Cherokee, the only original residents of the mountains who know much about the historical records, consider the river and all their rivers holy. The word Nantahala means, or it comes from, a corrupted version of the Cherokee name that makes reference to the deep gorge. It is Nundale Dalhidiho. I think I spelled that right, or sounded that out right. If not, please let me know. The place of the noonday sun. The Cherokee called the rivers Yangui and Gunhati, or Long Man. The sound of the rapids was the voice of the Long Man and murmured wisdom that only children and Cherokee shamans could understand. Rivers were central to Cherokee rituals of both birth and death, war and love. Immersion in the water purified the Cherokee people and readied them for every tribal occasion. To the Cherokee, the natural rivers were diverse and contradictory, while Longman was sacred and purifying. He was also a place of fantastic and dangerous beings, haunted whirlpools, giant leeches, and evil spirit folk. Two of the terrible beings associated specifically with Nantahala were the giant snake, or Bouncer, and the Ogus, Spearfinger. Bouncer lived on the east side of the gorge, where the sun shone first. The snake would lurch all the way across the valley, darkening the entire river when it moved. The Cherokee feared Bouncer so much that they refused to live in the deepest part of the gorge. Spearfinger, on the other hand, who was a shapeshifter, liked to haunt the darker passes of the Nantahala Gorge. The Cherokees tried several times to kill Spiritfinger, but how do you harm a creature whose skin is made of stone? They tried to drown her, but their attempts failed, and she always survived and returned even more furious than before. Once the Cherokee dug a pit and covered it with leaves, twigs, and small brittle branches. The evil witch fell into the pit. Cherokee warriors rushed to place and set it on fire, but even this was not enough to get rid of the fearsome creature, and the evil witch survived. Legend tells that when the Cherokee were out of options, celestial beings appeared and helped them to kill Spearfinger. Those celestial beings were birds that flew down from the sky. A small, beautiful, and intelligent bird helped the Cherokee to kill Spearfinger. According to this Cherokee legend, a small bird that the Cherokee called Tuskili, the Carolina chickadee, watched from nearby spruce branch and began to sing to the warriors. The Cherokee know the chickadee as a truth teller. The bird swooped into the pit, singing, "Here, here, here." The chickadee bravely alighted on the yellow witch's finger, and try as she might, Spearfinger could not shake it loose. The warriors stood, and they understood that the chickadee was instructing them to fire their arrows at her right hand. And they did so, and as the arrow stuck the witch's palm, she let out a piercing scream. Her wounded hand poured forth a great quantity of blood. The chickadee lifted in flight as the witch withered and died. The Cherokee legend of the Spearfinger has become popular today. Spearfinger appears in books and movies and all over Native American mythology. So let me know if you've ever seen this type of shapeshifter with a long, bony, stony Spearfinger and stone or skin that looks like stone. For centuries, people have claimed to have had supernatural encounters with cryptids all over the world. While each encounter is unique, one thing they all have in common is that they're incredibly frightening experiences. Recently, a trucker shared a story of him meeting a cryptid, a potential government conspiracy cover-up, and an encounter that will send chills down your spine. While driving his truck, Joe Barger encountered a cryptid that he described as Dogman. Barger said he was traveling through a rural section of Michigan in the National Forest where he saw a 10-foot-tall werewolf running alongside his truck. He said the creature could easily look into his truck, which stands around 9 feet tall. The Dogman had all black fur, pointed ears, and yellow eyes. The beast's 3-inch-long fangs on top and bottom of its mouth were bright white, which contrasted with the black fur. The beast jumped up onto Barger's truck as he drove. He pulled a gun on the animal and shot it in one of his eye sockets. The animal fell from the vehicle onto the ground. By the time he could turn his big rig around and get a closer look, the animal had vanished. However, this wasn't the end of this mysterious creature encounter. Barger would later meet with federal law enforcement officers regarding the experience. Barger was driving a route that took him through Manistee National Forest. He claims it was approximately June 2017 between 7 and 8 p.m. As it was the start of summer, he still had daylight in the evening. However, the sun was setting, which made it difficult for him to see details during the encounter. So if you visit Manistee National Forest, be on the lookout. As if the encounter with a cryptid wasn't enough, Barger claims he got detained later after sharing his story on a podcast. He said the detainment occurred while passing through a scale house with his rig. Apparently, state authorities at the scale house instructed that he would have to wait for federal authorities to arrive at the scene. When they finally arrived, they questioned him about killing one of their assets. He said the authorities initially confiscated his phone and gun, but received his phone back before he left. As far as his gun, the authorities said they didn't anticipate him getting it back anytime soon, if ever. He said that they made some serious threats to him and his career, and even temporarily froze his bank account. The Huron and Manistee forests were combined in 1945 to create nearly 1 million acres of national forest. However, they form a mosaic of sorts as various private properties and towns separate the various segments of the forest. Manistee sits in the lower peninsula of Michigan and is a great place for those looking to get outdoors. You have the opportunities for hiking, fishing, camping, boating, snowmobiling, and much more. It also has plenty of dispersed camping options, but most campers stick to camping in the rustic campground in the areas. So what do you guys think about that? This guy lost a lot for telling his story. If you encounter a cryptid, it's important to know how to respond. In many instances, how you react in the heat of the moment can make a difference between whether you live to share your encounter or not. So let's take a look at a handful of things you can do to stay safe during a meeting with a cryptid. First, you gotta remain calm during a cryptid encounter. Keep your heart rate low and focused on breathing. Do your best to absorb as many of the details of the situation as possible. If you have kids, make sure they stay calm and avoid making any loud noises. Keep your eye on the cryptid, but remain aware of your surroundings. You never know what else is nearby. Slowly leave the area. Encounters with these creatures can be unpredictable, and each sighting is somewhat different. While remaining as calm as possible, you should avoid making any sudden movements. One of the worst things you can do is try to flee the scene too quickly. Trying to run from them like a wild animal could ignite their hunting instincts. Back away from the scene as slowly as possible, but keeping your eye on the creature. You want to avoid escalating the situation. Keep a record of details. You want to write down or document as many details as you possibly can and as quickly as you possibly can. Write down or pull out your phone and type in a note or record a video with as many details of the encounter as you can remember. Note any distinguishing characteristics, the cryptid's behavior, and where the experience occurred. If you can snap a picture or a video of the creature, consider yourself lucky. Many people only get blurs. So you can also report sightings to authorities. Good luck on that. You'll want to report the sightings to proper authorities as soon as possible. Yeah, right. Like the Smithsonian, or maybe your local government, where they slowly just kind of disappear. The sooner you can report the incident, the better chance authorities will have at capturing it. However, do you really want that? Because we don't really know what these things are. So be prepared that they don't take your account seriously. Many think of cryptids as folklore, leading many to discount the people's stories. But don't be afraid to tell your story. I think that more and more people that come out and tell these stories, the encounters, because they're not just stories, these are real things that have happened to people. And, for those people, these things are very, very real. So, even if it isn't a cryptid, it's still strange, right? And anything like cryptid, where they're reported to 8 to 10 feet or more tall, they probably should be reported to a park ranger or your local, Department of Environmental. So, I hope you guys are doing well. Again, I apologize. Something we couldn't help. After a little over 3 years, it finally grabbed us. So, yeah, it's okay. We got the immunities now, right? Y'all have a great night. And thanks for stopping by Mountain Lake Fire.